guys, again. I am Dr. Dalsira Kumakwe from QuadCare. QuadCare is a network of medical centers. So we are in Park Station, we are in Fox Street, and you can call us anytime and come visit and consult. So today we're going to talk about the coronavirus. I'm going to keep the talk short so you have more opportunity to ask questions. You know, because I think it's one of those things that we need to just address fears and anxieties, but also present you guys with the truth, you know, the real fact of what we are faced with. We had our president yesterday on TV declaring this as a national disaster. You know, so when we say something is a national disaster, it means, you know, shit is real, you know, and it is also called a pandemic because it is now worldwide. You know, so especially if you are like traveling, you know, a lot of these cases that we are seeing now in this country, we have 61 cases today. You know, last week they were saying 38, today we're saying 61, meaning there is a rapid multiplication that's happening. You know, so we need to know if we are at risk and are we ill and what should we do like in all those type of situations. You know, so because of the speech yesterday, traveling, there's been bans on travel. You know, people are told to limit their traveling and only travel for like serious cases or emergencies. Gatherings are being limited to less than 100. I don't know how many we are here. We could be at risk, you know, but like you saw that facilities are closing. I got a message this morning to say UJ and vets, you know, are closed down. Schools are closing on Wednesday, you know, because meaning everyone is in panic mode. I was hungry and I went to my favorite restaurant here and it was closed as well, because they're also asking me like, what do we do? How do we make sure that we are not exposed but also, you know, protect our people? Why is it called COVID-19? It was discovered December 2019 in Wuhan, in China. It's called the novel virus because this is the first time this is detected in humans. All along the virus has been present, but in your poultry, in fish, you know, in animals. Now for the first time it is picked up in humans in China. Like you have an outbreak in China, next thing you know there's an outbreak in Italy, in Europe, everywhere, you know, and now because of like the world is very connected, we have our own cases in South Africa. How is this virus spread? It is spread by respiratory droplets. Meaning as you cough and sneeze, those droplets are suspended in the air and whoever inhales them gets infected. You know, so then it begs the question, how does then one cough to make sure that they protect other people? You know, you talk of coughing into your elbow because people are used to like coughing like this and then they go and touch objects. The next person that touches those objects that they've touched, if there's a virus there, you know, that person becomes infected, you know, so that is why we talk of coughing in this way, we talk of washing hands with soap, hand sanitizer if you have access to that. You know, we talk of air disinfectants that have a high percentage of alcohol, usually around more than 60%, because like that is the level that kills the exposure to this type of viruses. So the next question becomes then, who is more at risk of infection? Number one, that's one side. Another side is who is at risk of getting ill once exposed to this virus. You know, because we talk of 61 cases, but none of them are ill. You know, but then you talk of like a lot of the cases that are discovered in places like China where we talk of people dying. You know, like in which instances is this a risk of me? Like if I'm infected, am I in danger? Number two, what kind of situations cause me to be in danger of getting ill or even dying, you know, if I'm infected. So the people who are at risk of contracting this virus are people with a positive travel history, meaning you have traveled to these places that are said to have this virus, or you have come into contact with someone who has traveled to such a place, you know, or you are in an overcrowded environment. It could be, you know, in church, it could be in school, it could be anywhere where there's a large number of people, because if then one person is infected, the chance of spreading this around is quite increased. If you are a health worker like myself, you know, you are at risk of contracting this because, I mean, obviously people when they are ill, we are like kind of the first point of contact. But now who is at risk of getting ill? if exposed to the virus. Children, anyone less than 5-6 years, if they get exposed to this, they are at high risk of getting sick. The elderly, so if you look at the cases of the people that have died, most of the time it has been like the elderly in places like your Italy and China. People with chronic infections, your HIV, diabetes, hypertension, cancers, chronic lung conditions, because then this virus finds their immune system weak. Therefore they are at the risk of getting ill. Smokers in the house. Yeah, good luck. So if you're a smoker or heavy, you consume a lot of alcohol, those things, the smoking obviously makes your lungs weak, the alcohol makes your immune system weak. So if you are exposed to this and you are not physically healthy, you are at risk then of getting infected. So we say if you think you might have been exposed, we talk of self-quarantine. So what does self-quarantine mean? So it means you stay at home. You do not expose other people to yourself for at least 14 days to make sure that because that's how long it takes for the virus to show itself, if it's going to make you sick or not. And after 14 days, then you're not infectious if you're not ill. Monitoring of the symptoms. The symptoms usually associated with the coronavirus illness is a dry cough, there's fever, and there's shortness of breath. So if you have those three, and you know that there is a risk that you may have been in contact with the virus somehow, it is highly advised that you self-quarantine. And if you're ill, you are gonna go to a medical facility. So before you go, call the facility and say, I am coming, I suspect I have this. So that that facility can prepare for your arrival and make sure that you are not exposed to the other patients that are there. And they are able to also contact the relevant authorities to make sure you are properly tested and you put a face mask. Who needs to put on a face mask? It's only the people that are ill that need to put on a face mask. Yeah, so if you're just walking around with this and you don't have anything, it's really just an accessory. You're not benefiting yourself or anyone else. So only if you have the suspicious symptoms. Anyone with a mask? No. Yeah, so that is the only time you need to put on a mask, because then you are blocking these droplets from being distributed into the air. Thank you. Questions?
In the case of self-quarantine, you say the advisor that we stay in our homes. But life outside goes there, and if the campus continues.
Sorry, can you?
So if the campus continues to operate as normal, and I'm advised to stay in my room.
Yeah.
But that's not quite possible.
It is, because that's where that communication becomes key. You need to inform someone. You can't just maybe my employee just not pitching for work and saying they are self-quarantining. You know what I mean? Someone you need to inform someone that I think I may have been exposed, and for this reason I think the best thing for me to do is to self-quarantine. Because then when you contact someone is also able to arrange someone from the NICD to contact you for testing, and things like that. So please do inform someone if you see a need to self-quarantine. Sure.
So I had said symptoms like cough and dry cough and shortness of breath. So I asked if you have those, must it be only one of those or?
No, I mean it can present in any way. Those are the three key symptoms. The coughing, shortness of breath, and what was the other one? The fever. You could have one or all three and things like that. But the key thing is travel history and having been in contact somehow. If you feel you have been exposed to the virus in one way or another, because those are the same signs one would have if they have flu. You know what I mean? So that is why it's very key. When we're going into the season, a lot of the people are going to be having flu. So you can imagine now the kind of panic that is going to create if you just start saying if you have these symptoms, you have you possibly have the corona. So this has to be linked with with some form of exposure.
Yeah, just to ask about exposure, because the thing is, we don't know who has it and who doesn't. We only know people that the cases that have been reported, people traveling in Italy, and they started telling us that people are having it. So now we don't know who has it and who doesn't. So it's a bit difficult for us to detect or.
I think the best thing would be if you're highly suspicious that like this could be it. Then you contact your service provider to like discuss around the case and make a decision on that. You know, because you're right in saying you could be like in the streets and someone has traveled, you know what I mean? But you know, like usually like when people have had contact with some form of travel, it is quite traceable. You know, so like discuss it with your healthcare provider to see if there could be a link or a possibility.
Doctor, we just say, well, like, what are the protocols? So if somebody comes into contact
Yes.
with a person who has been tested positive,
Yes.
what are the exact protocols?
Yes.
And how do this specifically related to students, and how do we make sure that these are enforced and that the students are all safe?
Yes.
I think that's the most important thing. And for the students not to misconstrue this as being flu. A lot of students think I've got a temperature, I've got something. How do they know the difference between the two?
Yes. So like you say, if you have had a contact, you need to self-quarantine, first and foremost. You know, then inform the authorities, like wherever you stay, to say, I think I may have been exposed to this. You know, because then the people that like are responsible for you can then contact the authorities to arrange someone to come test, or like transfer you to a unit and things like that. So if you feel for some reason that you have been exposed, it is best to inform someone. But quarantining yourself, separating yourself within 2 meters, they say within 2 meters, so it's best to stay in your room and then communicate with your authorities what has happened. MRP.
The cost that we see online about the test, how true are they?
You mean the Lancet 1,400? It is true. Medical aid will cover it. If you want medical aid will cover it if there is a positive travel history and there is a health professional that feels that this could be corona. You know, so it's not like anyone can just pitch to Lancet for a test, and because they have 1,400, they will be tested. You know, other labs are a bit less expensive. There are rapid tests that are going to be coming out, but the indication for testing will always be a positive travel history combined with the symptoms.
And Doc, when are these tests going to be available?
The rapid ones,
Yeah.
in about a week.
Okay. And then in terms of the students and the self-quarantine, I think their major concern is what is, if any, the symptoms are different from flu?
Yes.
Because a lot of the students they're worried about that, you know, is there something different between this and flu?
There is no, in terms of symptoms, there is no difference between this and flu. That is why, like, you know, we stress the preventing of flu so much. Like for the reason that we don't want high, like, you know, numbers of flu now being misdiagnosed as possibly COVID, and then having like mass hysteria happening around it.
My question, I'll make a reference to the student at school. She or he wasn't showing symptoms. So how can one test themselves at home? Because sometimes they actually won't show symptoms. So how will you know the team? How can you test yourself at home even if you're not showing symptoms?
You cannot test yourself.
Like,
You need to present to a health facility if you suspect that you may have contracted this.
But they mustn't go to the hospital now because they need that.
Yes.
Oh, I heard that at home you could take a deep breath of 10 seconds to test if there's a problem with your lungs or not.
How?
Okay, so there's something that I read on the internet. It says that you can take a deep breath for 10 seconds to test if you like experiencing lung problems.
So, you know what? Like, I mean, you obviously they're testing if you have shortness of breath or not. You know what I mean? But then, shortness of breath is a symptom of so many other things. You know, it could be a symptom of asthma, bronchitis. chronic smoking or after running on the treadmill for a long time, you try, you know what I mean? So I would advise strongly against doing something like that. All right.
I also read somewhere that the virus stays for like 4 days on your throat, and then if you drink water, hot water that has salt and I think vinegar, it should wash it down, and then it's gonna go into your stomach, and then the acid in your stomach is gonna kill it.
No.
That's why we're here. We want this question.
No,
It's very important.
no. It's not that no. It's a no. Sure, yeah.
So in terms of
Sorry guys.
in terms of finding a vaccine, how far are we, and what does it mean if we don't find one?
If we don't find one. I think I read somewhere as well that Germany is like in the process of developing a vaccine. We are not there yet. We do not have a vaccine yet. But I think what has happened now in this last few months has really prompted like the development of the vaccine to happen as quickly as possible, because if you think about it, this was only discovered in December. You know, so no one was thinking of creating a vaccine for this, because the virus has been present all along, but only in animals. You know, this is the first time we're seeing it in humans, and we need to protect obviously future generations. You know, another thing that I read was talking about where you allow as many people as possible to be infected, you know, so that they develop immunity, which is like, I mean, a lot of us have developed immunity against many of the illnesses that are around. But that is also dangerous, you know, because seeing that some people are immune compromised. So exposing them to the infection might be quite disastrous.
I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
so how do you advise a company like Campus Africa to contain this virus in terms of like probably providing sanitizers and all that?
Yeah.
Like I want to ask in terms of, is preventing visitors a good strategy?
It will depend where the visitors are from, you know, number one. But I think what's important, like you say, it's the hygiene, right? So what we advise companies now is around, you know, just keeping their spaces safe. You know, so we talk of distribution of hand sanitizers, air disinfectants, making sure that people have access to gloves before touching objects that are used, you know, by a lot of people. We also talk of flu vaccination. Like I said, as much as the flu vaccine does not specifically protect you against the COVID, you are more likely to catch the flu than you are to catch the COVID, you know. But the symptoms are the same, that in the sense that if a lot of people have flu, we have a problem, because then we'll be having people trying to mass test for the corona.
So stopping the visitors does not help in any ways.
It is as good as saying stopping people going into the streets Okay, who's first? I think it's me.
Okay, so I'm sure some of us here have always been advised to self-quarantine.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you do that in a shared space?
You know what, man? You're asking me a good question. Because if you think of, like, you know, my fear ever since the coronavirus story has started has been, what happens if it hits the township?
Yes.
You know, because now when you talk self-quarantine in the township, it is almost impossible. You know, when you talk of hygiene and hand washing and all that, when people have issues of access to water, it is a big problem. You know, so there is a level of privilege to being in spaces like this where you can really apply a self-quarantine, in that you are in your room and there are ways that you can get access to food and supplies, you know, and things like that. And I really think that the people who have been advised to self-quarantine must do that. You know, self-quarantine, because as much as you are protected here, what happens when you guys are on holidays and you have been advised to self-quarantine and you did not. And then you go into the township where there is a problem that you might have been infected with this virus. Because even if you don't show symptoms, you can be still infectious. You know what I mean? So if one is advised to self-quarantine, please, I strongly advise that you adhere to that.
So does it mean you can't go home?
If you are told to self-quarantine, don't go home. Because you're exposing your family then to this virus. And you know your mom loves church. Yeah, you know what I mean? And like once she goes to church and starts singing. Yes, sir.
Are there any cases whereby they just say like someone tests positive, then after some testing or after some monitoring, some screening, then they test negative, like kind of like pseudo pregnancy?
Yeah. No, you do get, we had that case in Bloemfontein recently where we were told this guy came into contact with a Chinese businessman and has tested positive at a private lab. I'm sure he paid 1,400. And then it turned out he was not, positive. But this is after creating so much hysteria, around the people that he had also been in contact with. So it does happen. That is why it is so important that we do not just mass test, because that is where a lot of these false positives, will occur and cause a lot of problems for the communities.
So, say for instance, you tested positive, and then does that mean the hospital treats the symptoms rather than treating the virus itself? And then after the whole process, you then come back.
So firstly, there is no treatment for a virus. Like it's the same way you treat flu, it is symptomatic treatment. You manage like the symptoms until one is cleared, and if you are like quarantined for like 14 days, after the 14 days you are fine, then you are not infectious, then you can go into the community. You know what I mean? Not everyone who gets exposed to the virus gets sick anyway. So the people that get sick, it will be the cough, the fever and things like that. Those will be managed symptomatically, not directly treating the virus.
So I just wanted to ask the duration of these symptoms where it's like it's taking a lot of time, maybe a week or 2 weeks. We can say maybe it's suspicious that it's corona, then we identify the authorities. So the duration maybe you go once, dry, then you're done.
I think the minute you have like all those risk factors and you start having symptoms, do something immediately. In terms of how long people last, it depends how severe the illness gets, because a lot of people that die is because from those symptoms this develop now into a pneumonia and they end up in ICU and things like that. So there's no telling how long the illness will last in you if you are not exposed to any form of medical intervention. So the minute you have the symptoms and the travel history and all that, please do something immediately.
Okay, so say for example we've got like sinuses like myself, and then I'm always sneezing, I'm always sick, and I'm always sneezing, I'm always sick, and then I suspect that I might have been in contact with someone who has it, and then I come back and I start coughing, it's a wet cough, and then jiggy jiggy is a dry cough, and then jiggy jiggy my chest feels tight. Should I be worried?
Jiggy jiggy, yes. Yes, you must be worried. Because your symptoms, it's like a sinus. You know what I mean? Like you are blocked. And the minute you have more than what you are normally used to, please do consult immediately. You'd rather be told, no, it's not that, than just sit and not do anything about it. You know what I mean?
I wanted to mention something.
Yes.
I believe all of us, or most are students.
Is ex-student, yeah.
Oh, yes. So I believe that usually due to what happened, everyone should be on self-quarantine, as was speaking.
Why?
Because there's a student who was found positive and was in contact with other 350, and that 350 was so, we are not sure right now as we speak who has corona, who doesn't. Number two, now that to avoid this spread of coronavirus in a two sharing.
In what?
In a two sharing, like people are, students who are living together.
Together.
And they are best students, so one may come
Yeah.
corona. So how do you advise a company like Campus Africa to try to spread this, not for students, not to spread this virus amongst students? Because at the end of the day, if I am a student and I'm in contact with them, because I'm doing education in part-time, so there's a student who got coronavirus and started in part-time. So if I stay with my roommate and I was in contact with that student, I come to my room, kitchen, bathroom, and all that spreads coronavirus. So how do you advise people like Campus Africa to deal with such situations?
Right. I think the biggest thing is, like, having talks like this, because there's information sharing, right? We educating each other around this. Like we're saying, the people that feel they have been exposed in one way or another are the people that should be quarantined. It's not everyone that should be quarantined. Only the people that strongly feel that they have been exposed somehow, whether they have symptoms or not. But if you strongly feel that you have been exposed, then you quarantine. We can then contact the authorities to test those people. If we just say this whole community must be tested, we talked of false positives. We are going to create something much bigger than the actual coronavirus problem.
So would it be advisable to buy medication that helps to boost the immune system?
You know what? Healthy eating, exercising, that is the best way to boost the immune system. You talk of vitamin C, around this time to prevent flus and other respiratory type infections. But that also boils down to eating high vitamin C food like your oranges and colorful vegetables and things like that. What ultimately is going to protect you is that, because the thing about supplements is they have no responsibility to scientifically prove that they are effective, if you know what I mean. That does not say they are not effective, because I don't want to be sued, But healthy eating and just taking care of yourself properly and limiting alcohol intake and stopping smoking, that is ultimately what's going to make sure that your immune system is strong enough to handle anything.
With exercising, are you referring to people exercising? We can just go to the gym and enjoy ourselves.
I saw today that they declaring gyms now as also high-risk areas because people are huffing and puffing and things like that. You know what I mean? But exercising is really what works for you. It can be running, out in the air, that's good, because obviously it's aerobic exercise, it's helpful. You can do your strength exercises if that's what works for you. You can go to the gym if this is what you would normally do, but just being physically active will help boost your immune system.
Thanks, Angela. I think one more question for the doctor, and I think we need to.
Let us, someone new.
Yeah, maybe two. Okay. Who hasn't asked?
This one, yeah.
Actually, I just want to place emphasis so much on something. So I wasn't feeling so well for the past 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
But then I
People start moving.
I'm active.
Yes.
So even my roommate was sick. So but I will
Please open the windows. Okay, seriously guys. Yes.
I continue to do my regular exercises.
Yeah.
I went to one of the best public clinics. The queues were so long, I decided to leave and pay the price for the one on campus.
Yes.
But still, the list was so long, and I'm only scheduled for Wednesday.
Yes.
But then I continue to live my life as normal and continue with my exercise. So today I'm fine. So I want to know, with my class during the process of this self-thinking, do you advise that we exercise is it the best or must we rest?
You know what? When you are acutely ill, it is not advisable to undergo any form of physical strain in terms of exercise. If you've had past and you've gone to gym, you know the impact that has had. Sometimes it takes longer to get well, you know, and things like that. So if you are acutely ill, no, do not go to gym. May I ask what was the problem? Okay.
So, whenever seasons change, whenever the weather is up and down or rain,
Yeah.
if I encounter it,
Oh, then you.
I can-
Okay, but you didn't go to Italy by any chance. Okay.
Okay, one more question, guys. One more question. Let's go.
That one has to
I
be.
wanted to ask, in the light of trying to understand the virus, is it like flu-like, so it's going to come at a certain time and disappears? Because observing the statistics, there's some counter cases. So I just want to understand if there's no vaccine or cure for the virus, how do these people recover from it?
Yeah. Flu or any respiratory virus type infection, if your immune system is proper, they're usually self-limiting. You know, meaning you will get the infection and then after a few days, your system will have dealt with it and you'll be fine. You know, that's how a lot of the people would require. Some people will have the symptoms, you know, in which case they will get treatment for those specific symptoms and afterwards, you know, they are fine. Some people then will get severely ill and end up with your pneumonias and bronchitis and all those things. You know, those people would then be hospitalized and treated there. And if the treatment is effective, then they get well. You know, like different people respond differently to being exposed to the type of virus. In terms of being seasonal, I suspect that is what we are going to see. You know, the same way we see a lot of flu in this country around your April, May, and afterwards it kind of tapers down. You still have one or two people here and there getting like flu. But then we know that the high flu season is usually the winter months. So that will probably be what will happen with this virus as well.
Alright, last one. Just say it quickly. Okay.
So which sanitizers should we buy?
Hand
Like,
sanitizers.
yes, what are the core ingredients that are there?
It's ultimately about the alcohol percentage in it. So look for anything with more than 60% alcohol.
Okay, guys, thanks very much. I just want to thank Dulcie, Dr. Dulcie, for coming. I hope she's allayed a lot of your fears. And as the owner of the residence and Campus Africa, we're trying to obviously educate ourselves as well and to do whatever we can to make sure that we protect you as students and make sure that you are safe. So I think that's the most important thing. What we'll do is we have a video of this. We're going to distribute it to all the students so everyone can also understand it. So they're not looking at it something on the internet and it's, you know, they just can't make heads or tails of it. And we can come up with solutions of, yes, students aren't sharing rooms and what do we need to do. If we suspect, and please can we just go through this one more time. If we suspect that we've been in contact, but we're very, very sure, we don't show any symptoms, all we have to do is we must contact someone in the residence, so one of the student leaders or one of the leaders in the building. Please just contact them so that we can firstly quarantine yourself, and secondly we can get a hold of the NCID so they can come here and test you. That's the most important thing. That's what we have to do, okay? If you are in a sharing room, we do have spare rooms. So what we'll do is we'll take you out and we'll put someone else in the spare room. So if you're sharing with those people, we'll take you out. In addition to that, while they're testing you, we'll arrange for food for people who are scared and obviously can't get food and can't get meals. That's the most important thing. And not McDonald's, eh? You heard the doctor said, only your green vegetables, eh?
Yeah, please, no beggars and chips.
We've got someone making green veggies downstairs here. So that will be it. So we will arrange food just to make sure that everybody is safe here. On the next note, we don't know what the university is going to do. We've had a meeting with the university today. At 5 o'clock today, they said they'll let us know what they plan for the future of the university, whether they keep everyone here, whether they send people home. We don't know, and I can't answer those questions. We just don't know yet. And yeah, I think that's it from our side, guys. But we are going to do everything possible that we can do, and we understand your fears. Everybody has them, but we can't. The most important thing for this is that we don't want everyone to inundate our hospitals, because that's what the government is trying to get away from. We're trying to flatten the curve and make sure that the sick people go to our hospitals and the elderly and and children and anyone who has respiratory infections can go to the hospital. But young, strong people like our people at university, we get flu, we're going to recover, and we're going to be strong. We don't want to spread this disease to people who can't afford to get it. Sorry, there's one question.
Can you at least say what it is?
We'll chat about the visitors afterwards. Guys, I'll chat about the visitors afterwards. Thank you guys, thank you very much for coming. Please wait. Please share this, guys. Please share this with everyone else in the building. Please share it with your friends at WITS and all the other residents. This is not a Campus Africa thing, please understand. This is for all students to understand, and all the residents, people who are staying inside WITS must also understand this. People who are at UJ must understand this. People who are at Rosebank College, everybody must understand this so that there's not a panic, and that we understand how to deal with it. We are strong enough, our immune systems are strong. We will get through this like we get through everything else. Let's just make sure that we can do it together. Okay, guys? Okay.